Alrighty. 304 Leland Live Talk 99.5, hanging out here in a very steamy hot Wall Drug, which is in Wall, South Dakota, right off the interstate. Big, huge tourist stop. And as you heard just a moment ago, if you were listening in the first hour, the whole history of this place is the most American story you'll ever hear. There was a need. It was a time during the Depression. These guys came up with a gimmick, and it has turned into a fantastic tourist stop if you're ever out this way. So we're hanging out there with the Squealing Kids and the mechanical dinosaur, which you can see in the shot right there. There's a shot of their logo. And I'm here kind of on the back porch. This is sort of a back courtyard area, hanging out with my friend, the stuffed buffalo. AJ asked me earlier, yep, that's a real buffalo right there. But he's small, though. If you ever see him in person, they even look bigger than that.
Yeah.
Let me walk up there and show you how tall he is. Hang on. Now, he's on a platform.
Now, he's literally on a flat bed, and Leland's sitting next to him, and that thing is pretty tall. That thing got a nice little hump
he's on
it.
a little cart, but he's 7.5 feet tall just standing on that cart right there. So we haven't named him yet, nor have we named the mechanical dinosaur, which every now and then that sucker goes off and freaks out the kids. What a fun stop. And, again, warm day up here. I was looking at a heat map earlier today. Of course, the South, most of Alabama dealt with this sort of heat dome situation for days on end, then the torrential flooding. But now it moved up here, and today I pulled up one of those maps, and the hottest section in this country today is right where I'm standing. It is supposed to be close to 103, 104 today out here. But again, like they say, it's dry heat. I'm under some shade today, thank goodness. Got my Wall Drug tea. They don't call it unsweet out here, AJ. When you say, I want an unsweet tea, they look at you like you're mental.
Do you mean just tea?
There's like, oh, we just have iced tea. It's like, I'll take it. I've learned they don't put sugar in it anyway, so I got to worry about the diabetes. So having a good time this afternoon. Keeping up with the headlines, too. By the way, Alabama Dental bringing you the show. See, I don't do the sugar. Dr. Brian heard that, and I'm sure he's proud of me. But some of y'all do, and every now and then you wind up with teeth issues, and we all need a good dentist in our lives. We need a dentist that's flexible and that we trust. And once you become a patient at Alabama Dental, you'll understand. The flexible hours as late as 7 o'clock at night, the Saturday hours as well, just phenomenal. I don't know too many professional practices that do that in any way. And that kind of flexibility can come in handy if you do wind up with some tooth pain or something that suddenly happens. I don't think anybody's ever planned for a dental situation. It just starts happening, and you need relief, and that's why Alabama Dental is there to help you with just that. AlabamaDental.com. Y'all can get them online, get your appointment as well. With any of the four dentists there, with all the expertise they have, these guys are 4 different specialties, and that's a pretty smart design. They've all specialized in a certain area of dentistry, and so among them, they handle just about everything that can come up. So within one roof, within one practice, if you've got a specialized issue, they got you covered. It's AlabamaDental.com. Y'all go see them. This is my dentist. It's AJ's dentist. My whole family goes there. AlabamaDental.com. Occasionally, you will hear from the random screaming kid. There is a splash pad, just to reintroduce the audience, right in front of me, which is quite entertaining sometimes. I did wind up setting up straight in the kids' area because I can put up with loud kids. Sometimes adults will get on my nerves. All right, so here we are taking care of business this afternoon. Let's go to the Senate and take up some business out of Washington for a few minutes. Lindsey Graham's sister has just been sworn in into the United States Senate just a few minutes ago. Her name, of course, is Darlene Graham Nordone. And I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She was just escorted into the Senate by none other than Katie Britt. And it looks like another senator there. It's hard for me to see the screen right now. So she's escorted to the floor. But, yeah, it was Tim Scott and Katie Britt walked her onto the floor where she was sworn in. She's now officially capable of casting votes, which is critical at this juncture right now with so much going on in the world. You don't want to be another man down after all the calamity the Republicans can cause for themselves. Don't know much about her, and we'll get to know her over time. What we don't know, too, just like yesterday, is whether she has a potential eye on getting involved in maintaining that seat permanently by standing for election in that state to try to seek the nomination. My guess is, not knowing the politics on the ground, is that should she decide to do that, I think the sympathy and in the moment right now, if they had a snap primary pretty quickly, you'd have to think she'd have an odds-on edge. than some of the upstarts, some of which just ran for governor and got beat. Some people get beat and they never lose their taste for trying to win an office. It's like they need validation, so they'll continually run for 5 or 6 elections. And so you have that same dynamic in South Carolina. She's a relative newcomer to the country, but I don't know how she is viewed there in the state. And a lot of that's going to depend on how she carries herself going forward now that she's officially a United States Senator. So get used to hearing Senator Nordone from the state of South Carolina. Now, also in the Senate today, pretty dramatic stuff. I was able to listen to a little bit of the stuff at the beginning of the day. We had a very rare occurrence today in the Congress where 2 Supreme Court members, one on the left and one on the right, were both testifying on a number of issues before Congress today. It started in the House, and then, of course, these justices moved over to the Senate, and it was Amy Coney Barrett and the King of Queens, as my friend Richard Dixon has named her, Elena Kagan. And so they moved over. It's pretty genteel, I think, for the most part. These snobs in the Congress took it easy on them. But what came up and what was the most compelling, and this was really full circle, and I want AJ, let me know when this clip's ready. At Susan Collins today, when they were before the Judiciary Committee, I'm presuming it was the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. So they're discussing a lot of things, budgets, ethics of the Congress and the courts. And so, but a subject came up about the security of these justices and the intimidation of these people that serve on the courts. Courts, by design, these are lifetime appointments. They're supposed to be sort of walled off from the rest of us and not subject to political pressure. And while there is no process by which to remove them except for impeachment, they're pretty much there for life until they die or decide to step down. And but that wall seems to be breached lately, and a lot of it has to do with intimidation tactics being directed and security threats being directed directly at members of the court. So they got into some of that today, and there's a whole lot more of that going on than you would imagine. You remember the chaos that was outside of Justice Kavanaugh's home as he was being nominated, which again ties right back to the Lindsey Graham death. Kavanaugh would not be on the court without Lindsey Graham, and then and the weirdness that the country was in at that moment. And you had those protesters leaving fake dead cats on their porches and all this other craziness. And then we had an assassin to show up. We had an assassin after the comments by Chuck Schumer about reaping the whirlwind and directly calling out this justice. And so this guy changed his mind. If you remember, there was a heavy police presence which had been called up. He changed his mind and decided not to pursue his plan to either kidnap or kill Kavanaugh. And we came super close to that in that moment. So that was being discussed today in the Senate. And as she is talking about it, Susan Collins, who, I've been a huge critic of as well, she decided to speak to the issue. And think about it, while she's speaking to the issue, her office was almost broken into yesterday after a shooting incident in Maine involving an ICE officer. These lunatics tried to kick down the door on her office. She's had death threats and threats aimed at her in an election year there in the state of Maine. So if anybody in this moment understands the security disposition that a lot of these folks find themselves in, it's her. And she had this to say to the justices, calling out Schumer by name. Take a listen.
For example, a senator stood in front of the Supreme Court building and called out 2 members by name, saying that they had released the whirlwind and that they will pay the price. Other public officials have called the court corrupt, out of control, and serving an extremist agenda, the court specifically. For example, a senator stood in front of the Supreme Court building and called out 2 members by name.
Okay, so it looped around there. So she's directly talking about the Schumer incident. I don't know, that wasn't the beginning of it, but something's changed in this country. Some things used to be so sacrosanct that you'd never entertain violence directed at these justices in this way. Not that there haven't been moments in our history, but it seems to be escalating. And what I picked up on, and the little bit of testimony I was able to follow today, it appears to me that Justice Amy Coney Barrett in particular has succumbed to some of this intimidation. And you could sense it in some of the rulings she's given lately, some of the questioning on the court. I think it has disturbed her. Just like mainstream politicians, one way is to get to them is to bribe them, the other way is to intimidate them. And there are a number of ways to do that, not just with violence. There are people that give them political threats. They get blackmailed because of personal picadillos. But at the same time, some of this whole cloud of uncertainty around their own personal safety is at hand. And we got to stop that in this country somehow. There's going to be, and it's all over the place. It's on every level of government. And these people know no restraint when it comes to these issues, especially with these violent idiots of late that are getting in the streets over every single issue. So a lot was going on in that one hearing, and I know it was poignant in the moment, but it'll get ignored by this afternoon because, I don't know, World Cup or something. But it's where we are in the country, and it's not a good place. Just saying. Ox Foundation Solutions bringing you the show tonight. oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. You know, not as much humidity out here. I don't know if they have an issue out in the drier climates of the American West with mold like we do. But in the South, if you wind up with mold in your home, black mold, some of these other spores that can set up shop inside your walls and underneath your floorboards, I mean, you could seriously have a sick home. I mean, it can make you, it's unhealthy. And it starts with usually moisture intrusion, which can lead to mold growth, which can just grow exponentially when it comes to this time of year. It just does. It's the humidity and it's the heat. It's the perfect environment. If you're not encapsulated, you're more vulnerable to it. You're much less vulnerable, if not vulnerable, if you get it encapsulated correctly. Now, some of you are dealing with mold. Ox Foundation Solutions can not only remove it, remediate it, but encapsulate, so you're not having to deal with that anymore. And that's exactly what you want. You want to get that out of your home. They do all of the home services. So if it's concrete repair, crack repair, you get those stair-step cracks sometimes in cinder block, shifts where you've got a crack even in poured walls, water seeping in. All of that stuff is trouble. And because one leads to the other, you need a company that handles all of it. Helical Pier System, they can level your whole house, remove the water, fix the cracks, get everything straight, driveway leveling, sidewalk leveling, handle any of these things as well. And then, of course, get that mold out, get you all encapsulated, and then you're taking good care of your home and, honestly, yourself and your personal health when it comes to the nastiness that is a damp, moist home. It is oxstrong.com. Been on with us for years. They've helped hundreds, if not thousands, in this audience over that time. You can get them at oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. Live from Wall, South Dakota. When we come back, Leland Live. Lonnie's Furniture Company bringing you the show tonight. You know how much I appreciate this furniture store. If you ever get invited over to my house, almost everything you're looking at inside the house came from Lonnie's. And I had a chance to do a fresh start years ago. I had a brand new house, and I got to decorate it to fit the house. And that's exactly what John and Reggie and those guys are able to do for you too. The size of the furniture, the style of the furniture, it needs to fit the space. If you're ready for a change, you don't have to move, just redo your house. And they've got so much of everything there because it's an acre of furniture under one roof. An acre is a lot of furniture. And here's the thing, they've got even more, quote, in the back. Their warehousing operation, they just keep hundreds, if not thousands of pieces on the ground at all times, especially with brands like Lazy Boy and Bassett. So they don't have to run sales. For 92 years, more than 92 years now, they've been able to go to the industry, buy things at good rates because they can buy in bulk. They can buy in bulk because they can handle all that weight. They've got the operation for it. So because they get good prices from the factories. In fact, they're one of the stores that these factories will call and say, hey, we're running a deal on this. This just came out of our factory. We need to sell these Lazy Boys or whatnot. They go pick them up, bring them to Alabama. You get the deal. You get the selection. And they'll bring it all the way to your house. So from the factory to your living room or your bedroom, they've got you covered. And it's just doing things the right way for all these decades. It's Lonnie's Furniture Company, Launius. Now, every now and then they will throw a deal out there, and I'll be happy to let you know about it when Reggie reaches out for prices and specials. They just ran a good special for the July 4th couple of weekends where they were giving a discount for every $1,700 and $76 that you spend, which I thought was kind of cool. So every now and then they'll throw an incentive out there, but day to day, anytime you get on the interstate, go to Kimberly, Alabama, get off on exit 280, you're going to find selection, some of the finest people in the business, and really, really good prices all the time. It's LauniusFurnitureCompany.com, Launius, LauniusFurnitureCompany.com. Well, let's talk about the economy. This was a big news today, and basically, to give you the bottom line, inflation decreased at the most amount in the last 6 years. Now, try not to geek out too much on this. What does that mean? Consumer prices are going down faster than they have in 6 years. Now you ask yourself, what happened 6 years ago? 6 years ago, we were coming out of extraordinary inflation because of the Biden administration. They don't get credit for the decline in their days. They caused the problem with their big spending. It's like somebody setting a fire and then getting credit for putting it out. So as things tried to regulate during those days, we had some drops down from that exceedingly high, huge 9% number during Biden. And again, the only thing that ever causes government inflation is the government. I mean, inflation in the money and in the economy, it's government. It's their regulation and flooding too much money into the economy. So that's what they did, and we're still trying to recover from it. The other good story is on an annualized basis. When you look at how it would be when you track for the year, we're only inflating right now at 2.6%. And a portion of that is
Yep. Looks like we
continue to go
there
up.
he is. Okay, there we go.
Oh, did I drop out there
Yeah,
for a
you
second?
dropped out.
Sorry. It's people walking past in the wind, so we're just trying to deal with it. By the way, it just hit 100 degrees out here. So AJ, is this the hottest show we've ever done on remote? I think the hottest show we ever did was from a grocery store down in Columbiana.
Yeah,
You know
that was a pretty hot one. Yeah.
It was so hot, they were putting bags of ice in the grocery buggies and blowing a fan on it to blow cold air on us so we could get through the show. You remember that?
I remember that.
I'm pretty sure that was Columbiana at that particular grocery store. That was a fun time. That was a long time ago. Yeah, that was a pretty hot day. 100 degrees here, though, is not like 100 degrees back home. The humidity will chase you underneath the shade. Out here, if you can get a little breeze going, get under a shade, you can deal with it. But anyway, just letting you know, I was just keeping up with the thermometer out here as we are again in Wall, South Dakota, talking some trash. But anyway, yeah, the economic numbers continue to be solid all over the board. That's the energy portion of that's going to come down to, how soon and in what way does this situation with Iran end. You do get a sense because the markets have not really spiked. They will float up every time there's a headline or an incident. For example, we're going to go back to the naval blockade, according to the Trump administration, this evening. and we have telegraphed that. We gave him a deadline. In other words, we're going to blockade the Iranian ships. Trump is talking about taxing the rest of the world for being able to give security to their ships. They need the oil out of there. We don't. But he changed that from a fee or a toll for those security operations to trade deals. It's the weirdest combination, but it just may work. He's saying that for every for 20% of the shipments, as long as those countries will engage in that amount of trade with American producers and manufacturers, they'll get passage as well. I don't like us holding the Strait hostage either. We don't have any more claim to hold the Strait like that than anybody else. But Trump has a point. We're spending American resources, putting our personnel at risk to keep the lane safe from these nut jobs in Iran, which have threatened and have blockaded the Straits before back in the 80s. This has always been a leverage tool for them. So we're blowing them up and opening up the Strait and providing the security going forward. And by doing so, you got NATO and Europe, which sat on their hands this whole time. And we're kind of, Trump has always had a beef with that. You can go back and watch Oprah Winfrey interviews from back in the 90s where he would discuss the same thing of how the United States American taxpayers paying the security bill for a lot of the rest of the world, and he needs the rest of the world to step up. Some of them just refused during this particular episode, particularly our NATO so-called allies in that circumstance. So he's saying, fine, Spain, whoever, if you want your oil out of there and we're going to be your police force, you're going to pay us. It's what a good business person would do. Hey, Jay, the other thing about me setting up right in front of the buffalo, as you can notice from our shot there, is as tourists come here to get their picture with the buffalo, I am photobombing all of their buffalo pictures. So they will go home with a Leland. Down below me here on this table is a Leland Live logo. And they will go home with a Leland Live logo back to India in this case and take their pictures with them.
So you got a video of the buffalo's backside. They got a photo of Leland's backside.
Yes, exactly. That's a good point. They're seeing from that perspective. They're looking at this right here, looking at my big patootie right in the middle of their picture.
You know,
with
you
my
just got
logo.
someone taking a picture of you pointing at your backside.
Yes, exactly. They'll take that on back to Bangladesh, and let's see how that goes. Look at this lady. I mean, come on, man. She ain't from Bessemer. This lady is not from Columbiana. So many tourists. This is like a must-do thing if you're out on the interstate. And again, I couldn't say enough about Rick. If I could trouble him, I may drag him back into the show later because he was such a good conversationalist. But I think he just came out to say hey to me, and I drug him onto the air before he knew it. But the man was a natural storyteller, and his family has an incredible story to tell about this nationally known all-American establishment out here in the middle of the plains near the Badlands in South Dakota. Mandu bringing you the show tonight, MANDUU, mandu.com. If you want to get it right, get it tight, and you're sick of gyms and all the mess that comes with gyms and the fact that they don't work, try Mandu. It's electronic muscle stimulation. It might be the thing you need. It's efficient, it's effective, and they'll let you try it for free in downtown Homewood. Go see Paul. Tell him I said hey. Try it for free. See what you think. If you're medically eligible, try it. It's in Homewood and in Tuscaloosa. MANDUU, mandu.com, mandu.com. Back here live in Wall, South Dakota here in just a minute. Leland Live, Talk 99.5 as we keep doing our thing here from Wall, South Dakota this afternoon. Hey, Jay, did the video come back up? We got that thing back? Good. Dealing with a little bit of challenge out here with the satellite dish here in Wall, South Dakota. Some of it's the wind, some of it's the damn kids running around. I'm kidding. FloorTec concrete coatings. Let's talk about that for just a minute. You know, since they came on the show, I started noticing where people have put down these inferior products over the years and how they do what the one in my home years ago did, and that is they instantly fade in the sun and yellow and change colors. In some cases, they just peel right back up, and it's so frustrating because you put this stuff down to not only protect the concrete but to make it easier to maintain. Once you get a good concrete floor sealed in with this FloorTec product, you can mop it, you can clean it, it resists oils and spills, it's no longer porous, plus it's beautiful in your custom color. Over the years, though, these products continue to fail, but there's such a demand. There's a big industry in it. So that Kevin's a natural entrepreneur. He told me he was a serial entrepreneur. So they developed FloorTec concrete coatings. What they did was study the products and found out that the products just had a lot of impurities and things in them that caused them to fail and to be weak. And they just fixed it by taking that stuff out and giving you a pure product. So if you want your garage floor done right to the exact custom colors that you expect, it is FloorTec. TEK, FloorTec concrete coatings. Get them to come over and show off for you. They'll show you what they did in the lab to create a superior product. FloorTec concrete coatings. You can get them at floorteccoatings.com. You got to put a K in there. TEK, floorteccoatings.com, and get Kevin's crew to come over. These are good local folks that just have a better product. I think they're going to want to be nationwide with this because they so believe in this product. They put a lifetime warranty behind it, and so that they're guaranteeing it for the life of your home. It'll last longer than you do in that house, and you can transfer it. If you ever sell the home, you can transfer that with the home. Isn't that nice? FloorTec, get them over there if you need some concrete coverage, whether it's sidewalks or garages, even commercial applications. Looks nice to have a showroom properly done with FloorTec. Okay, live out here in Wall, South Dakota at the famous Wall Drug. A lot of activity going on here. Big family stop, lots of kids running around. There's a covered wagon. AJ, I was going to show you this too, is that if the video's back up, let me see if I can control this thing. They've got this wall of photographs, and really they're all over this place. Picture a Cracker Barrel on steroids, let me just put it that way. And so they've got so many things here. And these are pictures from this area. Some of them it's hard to really zoom in on from here. But these are pictures all down this wall of things and the history of this location. When I was in the Occidental over in Buffalo, Wyoming, I didn't get a chance to see all this before we left until we left over the weekend. And they had something similar of famous people that had come through. Look at those old guys with their hats on waiting on the train. As you hear an actual train in the background, probably the same train tracks that are in that photograph right there, bringing things coming and going in and out of Wall, South Dakota. But old photographs like that always, I can stare at them for hours. There's so much detail. They captured a moment in time that doesn't exist. And based on the automobiles in that particular photograph right there, I'd say that picture is probably close to 100 years old. Those look like 20s models, automobiles, maybe even earlier. But all the gentlemen wore hats. AJ, do you remember when people used to dress up to travel? I know that ended some time ago. Now people just get in a fight while they're waiting on the plane, while they're wearing their sweatpants and athleisure. But in those days, you dressed up when you got on a train or a plane and you went somewhere. It was a big deal.
It was. And so, yeah, the time has definitely changed from those days where we wore like a nice suit and, just looking presentable. And also miss when they used to smoke on the planes too.
Oh yeah, all the time. You smoke what you want. You can stretch your legs out and take a nap and smoke a cigarette while you're dressed in your suit. Now you're crammed in there like cattle, and you're hoping not to have to go UFC on somebody before the plane flight's over. Yep, that was back in the day. Anyway, that fascinating place. Again, we're just telling you what we can from our vantage point, showing you around just a little bit. Let's see what else we can see before I get back into the serious news of the day. I kind of had these cameras pre-positioned. That is a mock-up of Mount Rushmore, which is, of course, very close to here. And kids go over there and get their picture made with it. Go over there and stand by the presidents. And you can also see in the foreground my satellite dish that is bringing you this transmission right now that also wobbles in the wind. So there's that. All right, back here to the serious business of the day. There's another matter we've not gotten to, and I had it on my list yesterday, and I'm just becoming, I guess you would say, aware of this story and becoming more and more alarmed and concerned. But we're starting to have a lot of random church burnings in the United States. Europe has dealt with this for a while now, and none of these have been really connected. There have been some suspicious arsons that we know there were arsons in this country, and some people, of course, conspiracy theories are what they are. So some people immediately suspect Islamic members of the Islamic community, and that's only because they've got a 1,400-year history of doing just this, is destroying the symbols and the iconography of Western culture as they move into an area. It's what any despots, dictators, communists do the same things when they took over in the Soviet Union, anytime they've taken over a country, when they took over in Cuba, when they took over in North Korea, they kill people and tear down their statues and tear down their history. It's just a fact. It's a historical fact. And suddenly we've got these incursions, and you've got this satanic symbiotic relationship between some of these folks that are in the more extreme versions or more fundamental versions of Islam, and then the rise of communism in the country. What we don't know is which group's doing it, or is there a group doing it? Is this a pattern? Is it the natural repercussions of these people being fired up and becoming more violent and hostile, or is this something just coincidental? There's too many of them for it to be coincidental. And then there's this insidious thing going on in New York City. New York State, it seems to me, and New York City in particular, seem to be in the epicenter, especially of the march of communism in the country, with that childlike mayor that they've elected, who again is doomed to failure. By the way, let me give you some positive words on that. I had this thought. I was out trying to get my walk/run in this morning before the weather got hot. And, this country defeated the frickin' Soviet Union. I was hearing someone talk today about the fall of the wall and how we could not have conceived that the Soviet Union would ever fall apart when I was growing up in the 80s. We just couldn't. It was the Soviet Union. It was a giant empire, and that they would just collapse before our eyes was, we just thought the Cold War was going to go on forever. What happened there was our ideas were better. We had a president that stood up for freedom and capitalism. He said no to the encroachment in this world. We didn't even have to fire a shot. And the inequity of their system, the stupidity and the futility of a communist Marxist collectivist system crashed. And it was almost predictable that it would at some point. Some people believe what happens, the Soviets couldn't keep up with our spending. Reagan had started pushing some heavy defense spending for things like SDI, which we're now seeing being used in the Iran theater every day to stop missiles. Reagan was laughed at. They called it Star Wars. They thought he was a kook. But he had an idea that we could develop a shield system where missiles would shoot down missiles, and look what we see on the news every night. It came to fruition. Alabama has a huge role in that. Part of the spending toward that prospect would change the world dynamic in terms of who was threatened and who wasn't, broke the Soviet Union. They did not have the economy and the industrial capacity to keep up with us. And it's still true. Here's what I'm saying. If the ideas of communism can fail so miserably as they did in Venezuela, as they've done now in Cuba, as they did in the Soviet Union, they will fail in the United States. It's not good fertile ground for them, but they're going to plant some plants. They're going to put the Mondamis and these socialists in the Congress, but they will fail. You can't tell me that a 2-bit child of a mayor who's been in this country 8 years from Uganda lecturing us about our values is going to have any more success than the entire Soviet Empire. We will defeat this in the end. But some of their ignorant followers who, again, it's our fault, Gen X, we raised our kids wrong. We took for granted that they would accept and know some of the history and patriotism and fear of this kind of foolishness because we did, and we didn't teach it to them. And now they think they're on to something new. They think they've got fresh ideas about how to be fair to people, and they're wrong. And they're steeped in it. They're steeped in victimhood and victim ideology, victim versus oppressor, and they're wrong. And they'll be wrong, and that means in the end they lose. But until then, it's going to be ugly. And so now we've got these church burnings. And I don't know if there are some intrepid, it would take intrepid social media reporters to dig this stuff up. The things like the simple little kid Nick Shirley taking his iPhone and knocking on doors and creating a national wave of reporting on fraud and waste and abuse in our government? Where in the hell is the professional mainstream media with all their salaries and their makeup and their TV cameras and lights and their infrastructure that they've had for years, and then they look down their noses at other people in the business because they're the real journalists? Where were they when all this was happening? Ignoring it, picking a side, promoting one ideology. That's exactly where they were. And then we get the corruption and the waste. So when this church burning story, you can't expect real mainstream investigative coverage. I'll say this: if this were black churches burning down in the state of Alabama, there'd be national coverage. You'd have satellite trucks at every Cracker Barrel in the state of Alabama on their way to the story. Absolutely you would, because I've seen it before. But if the theme doesn't fit and you've got regular mainstream churches burning down all over the country, as they have been, by the way, in Europe, suspicious fires everywhere, somebody would be paying attention to the pattern. Now, the outrage story today comes from Brooklyn. Brooklyn, not a hotbed of conservatism by any stretch, but a community like others in this country built by Christians and their offspring that immigrated to this country and built that magnificent city. And so here's Brooklyn with a church that was 100, I believe the number is 127 years old. It burned to the ground. And so the church went to the city authorities, or whoever had authority over their reconstruction. They were denied reconstruction of an 127-year-old institution after it burned down. Now, let me back up. I don't know the cause of the fire. It may have been arson. It may not. Maybe still under investigation. All I know is the guy that turned them down, that was over the planning commission, had an Islamic name. He was Muhammad Mustafa something. Suddenly he doesn't find it reasonable for a church that's been part of a community for 127 years to rebuild itself. Y'all, that is so suspicious. This stuff's on the march. At some point, maybe, like I said, some smart industrial reporters that can connect dots and produce this stuff, not in a conspiratorial way, but with facts and evidence, can get to the bottom of, is this happening by intent? Or again, my theory at this point is it's a byproduct of these cultures that are inevitably going to come here. In other words, they're not having a meeting with a secret handshake on Saturday night and strategically planning these church fires, but by osmosis and the nature of these people and their culture and their values and what they represent, somebody's just going to get a can of gas every now and then and burn down a church. And then it starts to become exponential. And next thing you know, we've got a pattern. We've got something very, very concerning in this country. And one more note, and I'll get off this because this is one of those stories that really makes me angry in a way that's probably not even healthy. And I'm afraid of what I might say sometimes when I get so mad about this stuff. But let me point fingers in the other direction for just a minute. Where's the rest of the church in this country? Where is the Christian church? Where are the leaders and the voices? I know people like to go to soft churches nowadays that are basically therapy sessions about your emotions, and that's great. It builds membership. But where are the leaders defending the faith when these attacks are happening? Because I will warn you, all you got to do is look at what's happening to other faith members in Europe and in other parts of the world where Christians are under the attack. They have always been persecuted. It's guaranteed in the Bible. It's part of Christian teaching that persecution is going to come. But somebody make note of it. Somebody's got to stand up for it, because in the end, if this country with its freedoms and its First Amendment is not there to protect that thought process and that freedom of assembly to gather and to worship and to speak your mind and to redress your grievances and to do those things, there won't be a country in the world left to defend it. We're it. We're the last country that really has the power to push back on this violence and on this vulgarity that is encroaching itself, particularly into Western civilization, because Europe has quit. Europe has completely given up. And we're one of the last countries that are in the firing line of all this nonsense. But it's happening. I don't have a complete list of it, but I'm starting to watch this story. I'm seeing others raise alarm bells about it, and I'm going to be watching it as we go along and seeing if any of it connects. Because again, I believe in facts and evidence. I don't see any connective tissue yet other than the sequence of things that seem to be more than coincidental. They're not all arson, or are they? It's not always the same arsonist. We don't know if it's directly connected to an ideology, but suddenly we're having these situations that were not happening 2 or 3 years. They were not happening like this 2 or 3 years ago in this country. It was not happening. And then, of course, the other end of that story, the outrage in Brooklyn, where you've got this this guy whose values are very different than that church, denying that church the ability to rebuild. They should be up in arms in that town for sure. Work Trucks bringing you the show tonight. TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com. If you got a business or an organization, you got to get your things moved, get your stuff to your people, get some stuff done. It's Work Trucks. Y'all reach out to them and let them get you outfitted, whether it's a box truck or a flatbed or a van of any shape or size. It's Work Trucks. They got cargo vans, passenger vans, all the vans at Work Trucks, regular shop trucks, outfitted pickup trucks, in other words, with the tool bodies and the ladder racks are all the things that are configured for your industry, ready to go. These are pre-owned, so you're going to save money. They've got extended warranty, so you got peace of mind. They can do financing for you as well. Bubba and his team have a great operation. You don't need to waste time doing this kind of stuff. You got a business to run. Let them keep your fleet needs managed at Work Trucks. Put an X in there when you spell trucks, TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com, WorkTrucksLLC.com. Back here in a minute from Wall, South Dakota. It's 3:54, Leland Live, Talk 99.5, Blakely's Bouquets, bringing you the show tonight, Blakelees. We all need a good florist in our lives. We need somebody that we can go to when it's time to love on somebody or pick somebody up that's feeling low. If you're a good person, you have a flower shop. It's just true. Blakely's is mine. Every now and then, if I need to reach out to them and get a quick set of flowers, their website is so easy to use. I'm flower stupid. I am. I'm just illiterate. I can't name them. I know some wild stuff, but back in the old days, I tell this story a lot. Our little hometown florist, you'd have to call them on the phone. They want you to describe what you wanted. It's like, I don't know. And then you're liable to send the wrong thing. Y'all, let Blakely's show off for you. They've got this beautiful website full of prearranged things that are easy to look at and decide what looks good. Prices are right there. You click on that, put in your message, pay them right there, and it's delivered. If you do it that morning, for the most part around Birmingham, it's going to get there around midday. And I love that they send you a text to let you know that delivery made it, and then you can get excited, wait on that response. Hopefully you'll get a response as soon as she gets them. It's Blakely's Bouquets. Special arrangements too. If you are a flower person, you know exactly what you want. They love working with people and getting creative. So get on by Edgewood if that's your jam. If not, use that website, Blakelees, Blakely'sBouquets.com. All right, AJ, I was ignoring the phone calls. I had some around me, but do we still have Jimmy and Lamar hanging on? We'll try to go ahead and get some calls in here. Let's go to our buddy Jimmy the Greek. Hadn't heard from him in a minute. Jimmy, what's up with you this afternoon?
Hey, loving your road show.
Thanks, man.
All drugs, as you know, and your wife knows, they do sell turquoise. They sell quite a bit of it. So don't hold her back. I was also just out of interest in your last little bit. You remember 2006, the church burnings in Alabama, and the kids were, UAB students or whatever. Anyway, I know one of the fathers of one of those kids, and it crushed him. He never saw that coming. That was like, I don't know, I think it was 2006. You may remember. But the devastation, and it was all a prank. They didn't mean to do anything nearly as bad as what they did. And then he tried to lead the scent off and act like it wasn't them and was somebody else. And that's how he got caught. It's just sad, though, regardless of politics or anything else, whenever any of that stuff goes on. And I hate to say it, but, it's a sign of the times. We're in a new era here where people don't wait to think about the consequences of what they're doing. And I worry about the November elections for the same reason. I hope it doesn't melt down and become a big conflict and people don't do crazy things, but I pray for them. That's all I got to say.
Well, yeah, no doubt, and I appreciate your memory on that. Thank you, Jimmy. We had those church burnings, and that was what I was referring to. They got national coverage. The presumption was it was some Klan organization. Turned out it was just a bunch of drunk college kids trying to be cute, and when they went out and started burning these churches, we never got to get, and that was awful enough as it was, but the coverage was there. The pattern was disclosed. The public was outraged, me included, and these little punks got caught. But now what I want some investigations. I want some serious journalists to look into this pattern, because it's pretty obvious to people that are making these reports. These don't seem to be isolated incidents. Let's see if we can get Lamar in here. I think we're going to run a little too close to the break. Lamar, I'll give you a shot. Go, man.
Hey, okay. I was thinking about, New York went and voted Mandani in there. How quickly they forget about 9/11. People.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I ain't forgot it. And now they went and voted somebody like him in there. And now I wonder, Leland, how many businesses has left New York since he's been there? Are they coming down south?
Well, it's compounding, and they're going to different places. Some are going to Florida, some are going to Texas. Some big marquee businesses have completely started to abandon the city. That will continue if the hostility toward them and their work environment continues. We'll talk about more of that on the other side. Good call, Lamar. Back in a minute.